Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking a super fun and exciting video for you guys today because we just got fundamentally one of the biggest N64 software emulation updates that we've seen in some time now. That is because Ares or Ares, I like to pronounce it both ways so no one can say I'm wrong, just updated, bringing in a lot better performance on N64 emulation that is trying to be cycle accurate as well as just a better feature set and more reliable N64 emulation. And yes, I talk a lot about N64 decomps, recomps, and PC ports from the source on the channel, and those are absolutely amazing, but software emulation got here first. It'll be with us forever, and this new update to Ares honestly is some of the best N64 emulation you can get if you don't want massive visual enhancements. If you want that, Rosalie's Mupen GUI is my emulator of choice and my recommendation to you. But as of about 24 hours ago, Ares just updated, and don't forget it is a multi-system emulator, so even though we're going to be focusing on the N64 side of things, because that's where the most fundamental updates came, you also have PlayStation outside of DuckStation in here that's going to get improvements along with Game Boy Advance. But the biggest thing is not only is Ares at version 146 right now, but it's basically rewriting and reconfiguring some of the actual components to N64 emulation in general. You're going to see here highlights include rewrites to the N64 CPU and RSP jets, or reality signal processor. Basically, they reworked the code on both the CPU side as well as the signal processor side to bring in better and more accurate N64 emulation, and when that happens we all win. And when I'm not going to use Mr. FPGA for a capture, and I don't need to talk about an N64 texture pack, I start and stop with using Ares when it comes to capturing N64 footage. It is absolutely an incredible emulator. Yes, it needed a couple updates to kind of reduce down some of the hitching you'd see every once in a while, and that's basically what you're going to be seeing in this update here. And again, N64 is having such a big resurgence in 2026, so this is definitely going to benefit everyone, because the one thing I can say is that obviously software emulation compared to FPGA is 100% free. You don't need to buy a Mister, you don't need to buy an Analog 3D or potentially a Mod Retro M64 in the future. You can just sit down and enjoy it for a $0 cost, and that is important because we want the barrier of entry for something like playing N64 games to absolutely be a $0 sum. And again, when I talked about the Snowboard Kids 2 decompilation hitting 100%, when I needed accurate footage of this, I just loaded up in Ares. And yes, I have Analog 3D, and yes, I have Mr. FPGA. When I'm working on projects quickly and iterating on them, I absolutely love using this emulator because it feels every bit as good as Mr. FPGA, and by side-by-side comparisons I've done in the past, honestly, you'd just be guessing as to which one you were looking at. And for the fact that N64 emulation got even better a day ago, it means even more to keeping these games alive and keeping them fun for everyone in the future. Because we want that cycle accuracy, we want that code to be every bit as good as something like real N64 hardware, and the Ares team is hard at work at trying to do that. So you'll see here there is a note section, and again, there's improvements over a lot of different platforms that we're just focusing on N64 right here. You have that CPU and RSP improvement, and that gets you improved performance. So not only is it going to be more accurate, it might also be running a little bit better on your system. Now for a baseline, I have an i9-12900K with a 3080 Ti and 64GB of RAM, but honestly, it's going to be the CPU that benefits you the most in Ares. You're also going to see that they've added in support for some more ROM hacks and different extensions, and right now Cube of War with the English language pack will now work in Ares. It's something we've had on the Mr. FPGA side of things for a bit, and you can play on an Analog 3D with a flash cart. And if for some strange reason you've never actually played Cube of War before, whether it's N64 or GameCube, I can tell you right now, you're missing out on one of the most fun and most unique and weird games out there. And even though I'm showing you the Japanese language version of the game because that's what was in my store's archive, and I could have sworn I talked about the English language version at some point, but I could not find that footage. You absolutely are missing it if you don't try something like this. And because Ares has improved not only the compatibility for this game, but also different ROM hacks, you're going to get more games loading up into it, because ROM hacks could definitely be hit or miss when it came to Ares, depending on what the developer actually did underlying the N64 code and all the different microcodes available. Because trust me, when it comes to N64 emulation, it is hard mode. It is very interesting how the hardware works with all the different microcodes that you can have in the emulation. You really have to handle a lot of different circumstances and different possibilities if you want this thing to be as close to cycle accurate as possible. Let's go into the first of two soundtrack samples so you can hear the audio quality in Ares, because I just captured this and honestly it sounds very good, and we'll come back and talk about more of the improvements and where I want to see N64 emulation go in the future. So moving back over to the improvements here, you're going to see it also implemented support for region-free ROMs, including homebrew extensions. And right now there's absolutely a new golden era of N64 fan games going on. I talked about a few of them on the channel. I'll definitely cover more as they come out in the future. And it's always fun that we get stuff like this, because a lot of these game developers will say if you're going to use emulation and not real hardware, they recommend you use Ares for it. That is because it is the most accurate N64 emulator out there, so when they want their work replicated as closely to possible as what they would experience on real N64 hardware, that's why they recommend the Ares emulator. Yes, again, it just going to be quote-unquote stock N64 vibes here. You're not really going to get any sort of internal rendering resolution bumps that are going to look like something like Mupen, but that honestly is a fun thing to me too, because the original N64 vibe and how new developers work in conjunction with the hardware limitations really is a kind of appealing thing. Yes, you could take something like this, put it into Rosalie's Mupen GUI, and just code for that emulator, which will allow you to do stuff that the N64 was never capable of. But that in and of itself doesn't really feel like a true N64 game, even if I do love them. Or something like Pandemonium, the new quote-unquote Dark Souls for N64. It is a tech demo, but capturing it in Ares is a ton of fun. Of course, it even has stuff like FMV video. And it is kind of wild just how much is going on with N64 right now, and that is why getting improved software emulation is going to be such a big deal, because when it comes to getting the closest to one-to-one experience in software emulation to real N64 hardware, Ares is the one and only choice in my opinion. And honestly, I want to see this emulator get every bit as good as the FPGA cores we have out there, so you don't even need to buy an FPGA console or a Mr. FPGA to be able to enjoy really accurate N64. For me, it's kind of the democratization of retro gaming. I want people to have as many options as humanly possible. That way, whether they want to spend hundreds of dollars or spend no dollars, they can get an extremely accurate N64 experience however they want to play it, because that just means more people will enjoy it. We will have more people in retro gaming enjoying things and playing games that maybe they never experienced before. And when that happens, we all win. Let's do the second soundtrack sample, 1080 snowboarding here, again coming out of Ares. So go ahead and listen to the quality, but come back and I'll show you just a little bit more of the updates. I can't say the 1080 soundtrack is the most exciting thing, at least to me personally, but it sounds great coming out of Ares here, and that really is the thing. You want it to be accurate, and that's what the developers are going for. A one-to-one accurate N64 software emulation experience that is no different than turning on an N64 and popping in a cartridge. Well, I guess technically you want to do that in reverse order, because there is no operating system, cartridge first and power second. And again, if you've never checked Ares out before, it isn't just N64, even though that's one of the best use cases. It has so many different emulators in here that are ready to play games for you, and you're going to have an incredible time. And honestly, that's what we want. We want more people playing N64 as accurately as possible, so they get the same vibes as they did if they have nostalgia for a game they played back in the 90s and haven't checked out since, because that is the thing. More people are coming back to retro right now because honestly, modern gaming is getting a little bit boring and stagnant, at least in my opinion, and I hear it over and over again in the comments. So retro is going to really keep the dream alive if you're bored with that modern gaming experience. And if you've watched this long, I will give you a little bit of bonus in the video, a little secret that I didn't telegraph whatsoever until I got basically to minute 10. We'll have to wait and see how it improves, but I will have a video shortly on a work in progress Donkey Kong 64 recompilation project, which you're seeing footage of here. Just a little bonus, and maybe in the future I'll start leaving things at the 10-minute mark coming up, so the people that watch the entire video will get a little bit extra. But short of that, we're done, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.